All right, welcome to another episode of Closers Are Losers. I'm here with my business partner and CEO, Matt Ryder, out of our Sydney, Australia. Well, actually, I think you're working
I'm at the home office today.
You're at the home office today.
There's Mom, who's our head bookkeeper.
Hey, Mom, how's it going over there?
And look what just came in.
Oh, the Big Daddy, the big award. I love it. That looks pretty beautiful. I like it. I can't wait for one to get here to the Scottsdale office. Anyways, Matt, thanks for being on here. Today, we wanted to talk about, so we look at different questions that people ask on our ads or our reels or YouTube or our lives, and then we kind of answer those here on this podcast, all right? So a lot of people keep asking us like, hey, what is NEPQ? What's the breakdown of NEPQ? And what are the different questions? Like, why do you ask connecting question? Why do you ask solution awareness questions here? Why not ask it in the beginning? All right. So should we give them a breakdown of the NEPQ?
Yeah. I would love to have your understanding, because I know you've gone through a few different iterations of NEPQ, and I think you used to have connection situation solution connection situation.
I used to have connecting questions, situation questions, problem awareness. Then I would ask a consequence question. Then I would ask solution awareness. And just through trial and error, I'm like, it hits better after I get them to see what their future is going to look like once all these newfound problems are solved. When I journal consequence question, it just took me several years to figure that out, right? Which followed me up more sales. So let's start with, how do you start a conversation? So now let me describe a discrepancy that some people don't understand. If you cold call, so quite literally, if you just pick a random name and phone number and they don't know who you are, they've never asked anybody from your company to call, okay? They're not a current customer. It's like, when they had phone books back in the day, you just grab a name and number and randomly call. That is a cold call. So with cold calls, you're not going to use connecting questions. You're going to use what's called a problem statement. All right. We won't go into all that training today. You can get all that in our virtual training courses. All right. But if you're doing inbound leads where they book on your calendar, or you're doing what's called outbound leads, where maybe they respond to some type of ad on Facebook or YouTube or newspaper or direct mail, whatever you do to generate leads, and they leave their name, email, and phone number, and you're calling them back, but they don't know when you're calling or they don't know who's calling, that's an outbound lead. So inbound and outbound leads, we're still using connecting questions, right?
Yep.
And connecting questions, they take the focus off you and they put it on the prospect. Now,
why is that important? Why is that important?
Well, because what do most salespeople do when they first call? Like, hey, hey,
how's the weather?
Yeah,
that local sports bowl team.
I love like an outbound lead, because I was training on an advanced inner circle training call today, and one of our new clients just joined a couple of days, and he sent in a call to review before he even knows what NEPQ is, and you know what his first statement was? I love him. I just had to slap him around a little bit, but he's like, hey. John Lewis, this is Ryan Newman from XYZ Company. Hey, I saw you responded to an ad. Do you have 2 minutes we can talk? The guy was like, yeah, like really awkward. He's like, yeah, hey, how are you doing today? And the guy's like, well, hey, what's this all about? Automatically triggered sales resistance. I'm like, oh my gosh. Your prospects are generally not interested in how their day's going, because every salesperson that's ever tried to sell them anything, ask them the same question.
Yep.
So connecting questions, they take the focus off you, put it on them. But what really helped you? Because, before you became a CEO, the business partner here, you were a client a long time ago when we first started. So what did questions really help you do with your prospects?
Well, I was always taught to quote unquote, like set the frame and become the authority. And so like the way that I was taught how to sell was like, hey, the point of this call is to do this. At the end of the call, you'll be asked to do X, Y, Z. Now you can say, you asked to move forward. You can say yes or no. However, we will be asking you to make a decision on the call today. Is that okay with you? And no matter how you say it, they always go, yeah, it's totally fine. Perfectly reasonable. Right? They always say that. In the back of their head, they're going, well, no, you're a dirty salesperson. So by removing that and just removing the chit chat as well. Hey, how's you going? You got kids? Yeah, all that stuff. And just going like, hello, how can I help? And being very, very simple, straight to the point, using some connecting questions to kind of open them up and get to the point quickly. It allowed me to shorten my sales calls, but also not induce that sales resistance to where I got the same old objections all the time, which was usually, can I get a reference?
Can I get a reference, or I want to think about it, right? Even though you said at the end of the call, they have to say yes or no. Well, ultimately, they can do what they want, right? It's not like you're forcing them, like you're going to reach through Zoom or the phone and you must say yes or no. Like they know they don't have to say anything. All that does is trigger sales resistance where they emotionally shut down. And even the very best you ask, they just never open up.
I'd actually be interested in hearing your thoughts on the action taker discount.
Well, in the beginning, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so a lot of companies, what they'll have, and if you're listening to this, you might have that too. They, right at the very beginning of the call, they establish that if you make a decision today, you get a discount.
I think it just
call it action taker.
I think it triggers sales. I think it works for your laydown sales, but I don't think it works for most people because it sounds really cheesy.
No, I totally agree. And also, like, the thing is it real?
Yeah,
and that's the question I always ask sales people: is it real? So if I call you back tomorrow, and it's $15,000 today, but $18,000 tomorrow, and I say I'll do it for $15K, you'll say no.
Yeah, exactly. You know that they're not.
Come on, man.
Oh, man. No, but it's important. Like we do train you, no matter what industry you're in, how to set a frame. But we set a frame that's more easygoing, more neutral, more relaxed, right? So I might get on there. Hey, is this John? Let's say they're on Zoom. They're an inbound lead. I'm just going to give an example. They're an inbound lead. They get on there. So I'm going to look down. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so it looks like you had booked on the calendar about looking at possible outside help in your blank so that you can blank. That's the frame. Now we just plug in whatever you sell there. So let's say if you sell. Let's say if you help companies scale, you help them build systems, your company builds systems, branding, lead generation to help companies grow, like small to medium-sized companies grow. Here's how it might sound. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, good. All right. So it looks like you had booked on the calendar about looking at possible outside help in really like, well, let me start over. Looks like you had booked on the calendar about looking at some possible outside help and really growing and scaling your business, right? And they're gonna be like, yeah, right. And then I want to go into a frame. Okay, yeah. And I mean, this first call, Joan, it's pretty basic. It's really more for us to find out kind of more about kind of what systems you have in place now and kind of what revenue that's caused you to be able to generate compared to really where you want to be revenue-wise, just so we can kind of see what the gap looks like, to see if we can help. And then towards the end of the call, if you feel that it might be what you're looking for, we can talk about possible next steps. Would that help you? You know what they're going to say? Yeah, that would help me. Now, notice
it's so it feels like you're not a sales guy. It feels like you're the guy who's been tasked to go in there and figure out if you can help.
Exactly.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
All I did is I started building a gap there automatically by saying to kind of see what you have in place now. That's what I'm saying. It's industry specific here. So we're going to use the same frame, but just plug in your products or services.
You can plug in fitness,
Fitness.
You can plug in fitness, lead generation, sales, insurance, whatever.
Marketing, insurance, cars. It doesn't matter. We train every industry at this point to kind of see, what you have in place now compared to where you're wanting to be. Now, notice how I'm already moving my hands up here. I'm already building a gap that they can see if they can see me. Now, if I'm on the phone, I'm still going to do the same thing because that affects my tone, how that comes across, okay? But if they can see me, they're already starting to visualize a gap from where they are compared to where they want to be within the first 2 minutes, right? Just to we can help. And then towards the end of the call, if you feel that it might be what you're looking for, we can talk about possible next steps. Does that help you? Might be, impossible, or neutralizing that, where they feel like, yeah, that makes sense. And they just open right up.
It's not passive, it's neutral. There's a big difference.
Neutral. We're not like at the end of the call, if you're interested, just tell me if you're interested. Like that sounds wussy. You're not like that. You're not being over something. Now,
so that's gonna go then. That's gonna segue into situations. So can you help me understand your in your mind?
Yeah.
Right. Why you decided to segue that into that?
So then there's a couple more connecting questions you ask, which we teach all that in our virtual training platform.
They only get hors d'oeuvres today, Jeremy. We can't give them the whole thing. Just hors d'oeuvres.
Then you're going to go into your situation questions. And that helps you and them find out what their real situation is, because most of your prospects don't know what their real situation is when you first start talking to them. Let's say if we're staying in that same industry as an example. Or no, let me give you a different industry. Let's say if you sell life insurance. Okay. Now, John,
a lot of people sell life insurance who train
John,
us.
we train thousands in that space too. John, can you walk me through like what you have in place now as far as like policies or maybe assets, that kind of go towards like financial protection for when something does happen to you? Or can you walk me through what type of policy you have in place now to protect the family financially when you do pass away? That would be an example of a first situation question if you sold life insurance.
But also, I'd love to break that down real quick because you did a couple of subtle things there that I think I don't want the guys to be able to understand. Now, you emphasized protection, right? So, like, why would you? What is your downstream thought process for wording it in that way?
Because financial protection in the life insurance policy is not what most life insurance agents say. They say, what type of coverage do you have? See, the thing is, you're not selling the thing. You're selling them the results of what that thing does. You're not, if you're in life insurance, you're not selling them a policy or coverage. You're selling them the results of what that thing does, which is to financially protect the other spouse and kids when they pass away. That's what you're selling. So you're getting them to think results-based thinking over cost-based thinking automatically. That's my thought process in that.
Perfect. All right. So we get a bit of information about their situation, what they're currently doing.
Yeah.
Then from there, what is because I'd like to give them a little hors d'oeuvre. What is that transitional piece that you would use in order to bring them to the
transition from situation into problem awareness questions to start building the gap. So let's just stay in life insurance, for example.
Yeah.
Let's say that you ask that first question about what policy they're in place, and they say they don't have any policies. And then you ask them, like, what do they have as far as savings, investments, real estate that would pay their, expenses. They say, I don't have any. Then I might ask them my last situation question. Okay, so walk me back. Like, who would be responsible in your family to have to go pay the mortgage, pay for your funeral costs, pay your credit cards, all your debt when you do pass away? Oh, that would be your sister. Let's say if they say that. My first problem awareness question would be, so do you want to have your sister to have to pay for all that if you didn't have to? No, I wouldn't want her to have to pay for all that if I didn't have to. Or no, let's say, well, my wife, Cindy, would have to pay for it. Well, do you want Cindy to have to pay for all that if you didn't have to? No, I don't want her to have to. Well, realistically, like, let's say you pass away, God forbid, 3 days from now, how many months would Cindy be able to make the house payment, the car payments, the credit card payments without your income? Now that starts to build a gap. Right? Well, I'm not really sure. Well, if you really thought about it, oh man, I don't know, maybe 5 months. Okay, so after 5 months, what would happen to Cindy and the kids at that point? Oh my gosh.
On the streets.
That starts to build a gap, right?
Yeah.
That's an example of a problem awareness question. Let's say if you sold branding and the company needed to brand themselves, and let's say they've been branding themselves a certain way, my first problem awareness question would be worded different. So you've been using, YouTube reels and IG reels to kind of brand yourself for the last 6 years. Do you like the results you've been getting? That's how
I guess for a lot of the salespeople who don't understand, they would go, but Jeremy, what if they say yes?
Oh, what do you like about it? What do you enjoy? Well, I like this. I like that. Okay, so Mary, I mean, to me, it sounds like things are going fairly well with what you already have now. I mean, is there anything you would change about what you're doing or the results you've been getting from that if you could? Well, don't get me wrong, Jeremy. I mean, it's good, but man, I don't like.
Oh, get to that second truth.
They lead into that. What's
now?
really-
I think I'd love to ask you, because this is a nuance that I don't think many people actually get, and I've got you here, and I can ask you the question. When you asked that question, that two truths question, you gave them two options. One was sort of more process oriented, and one was more outcome oriented. So why would you do that?
Because depending on how they think, maybe they like the process they have, but they don't like the result. Maybe they like the result, but they don't like the process. If I give them two options, I'm going to hit usually one, if not both. If I only give them one option, I'm taking a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, because I think a lot of even our newer students, they don't understand that distinction and definition, and how they have to craft that question to give two choices, not just the one, because you want to have a higher chance of it having a net positive effect.
100%. Now, there's more problem awareness questions you ask. Let's go into solution awareness questions. So,
okay, I'd love to just ask you one thing though. The transition between problem and solution, you use what we call a rationale question.
Okay. Yeah.
right? That's essentially that sort of transition piece that butts them together. So what is your thought process on that specifically, on that rationale? Like, what is the intent of what you're trying to get out of that?
Ask a rationale question, because typically some of your first questions where they tell you a problem is usually, for most prospects, just the surface of what's really going on. They haven't really opened up yet where they go way below the surface. So usually the first problem they tell you is really a surface level problem. So I want to find out from them, so they sell themselves on not just one problem they have or why they might be looking to change for one reason, but I want them to start telling me and them 2 or 3 or 4 other reasons why they need to change. Because the more reasons they tell me and themselves, the bigger the gap builds, right?
That's a really big one, because a lot of the people that are listening to this, a lot of the sales trainers they've probably used in the past have told them to immediately go after a problem. As soon as you get one very quickly, you're told to go as deep as you can, as soon as you can on that. And that's the exact reason why that style isn't as effective as this, is because that first problem isn't the real one.
It usually is not the real problem. Okay, so help me understand. Okay, so John, just so I can see the rationale, but besides blank, and you repeat back what they said they wanted, besides blank, what's the main reason why you're looking for blank rather than just blank? Now, that's a formula. We teach all of that in a virtual training platform. Let's tie it into an industry-specific example. Let's say that you sell fitness. You just talked about that for a second. I'm just going to show it works for every industry. Okay, so John, besides you wanting to lose the 40 pounds, because everybody wants to do that, besides just losing the weight, what's the main reason why you're looking for possible outside help to learn how to do that, rather than just going back on the keto diet that you tried 2 years ago? Now, what is he going to do? Well, the reason why I need to lose the weight is because when I was young, my dad died of a heart attack and left me, and I don't want to leave my child. Whatever they say, there's another reason, right? Yeah. And then why I gave them an alternative rather than just going back on that keto diet you did 2 years ago, because I want to give them an alternative where they have to tell themselves and me why they can't do something else.
Yeah, the DIY objection.
Yeah, that way you don't get something at the end like, well, I'll just stick to some of the diets I've had in the past, or whatever it is. Or, if you sold lead generation, well, I'll just stick with that lead vendor. They haven't been bad. Whatever it is, you want to give them the alternative so they tell you why they can't go with that alternative, so you don't get that objection at the end, right?
Amazing.
So life insurance, let me give you an example. Again, be the same thing. So, okay, so help me understand, just so I can see the rationale, but besides, wanting to pay off the home, for the kids when something does happen to you, what's the main reason why you're looking for the extra coverage rather than just having, Cindy set up a GoFundMe page and just hope people donate? See?
Yeah.
See, that's an alternative that they might think, well, they can just set up a GoFundMe page when I'm gone and people will donate. Well, the reason why we can't depend on that is because, see what I did? Yeah. So it doesn't matter the industry. So,
all right, cool. So then we got solution.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to stop it here after this one, because we can't have a 3-hour long podcast. But we may do a part 2. We'll do a part 2.
I think let's do a solution awareness question, and then next week we'll do consequence transition. How do you present by not present? How do you connect the emotion? How do you close? I think we'll do a part 2. So solution awareness questions get the prospect to focus on what their future is going to look like once all these newfound problems are actually solved, right? So when you learn solution awareness questions, how did that help you?
The big thing was being able to tie, I think the 2 main tie downs that we're looking for is one, tangible. So what is the outcome? But which I think is what a lot of what I was taught beforehand was, just focus on the tangible. But then the secondary layer of attaching the emotional to the tangible. So it can be as simple as, I want to be able to buy my dream car, right? And it's like, and then getting some information about the dream car, but then get like, what would being able to buy that dream car mean? And then it might mean, their father passed away and they always wanted to it was their father's dream car, and they want to be able to kind of get it and close that loop, right? There are many reasons.
What industry would you use a solution awareness question like that for?
A lot of coaching and consulting. Right, where people are looking, or like business opportunity, where people are looking to learn how to make money online, or even like career development opportunities where they're gonna climb like the corporate ladder, where you're looking for they're looking for a direct monetary
So an ROI type of sale or something.
Exactly. Right? So yeah, very ROI based sale. It's like, okay, well, let's just say we are able to help you get to an extra $35,000, $40,000 a month worth of income. What would you actually do with that type of money coming in though? They go, oh man, I'd be able to finally buy my family their dream home. Okay, well, tell me about that. And then from there, you're kind of creating an emotional landscape around buying the family dream home, which might be like, oh, the Christmas parties and having the place where everyone comes to, creating the security for their family, that type of stuff, because they might be renting. And it's like, well, okay, what do you mean secure?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, we're moving the kids around a lot. We're doing this, and this. Okay, well, how long has that been going on for? Okay. And is that having an impact on your ability to kind of create stability in the family that you actually want? Yes, it is. Okay. And how, so you can create a real narrative around it. That's what really helped me.
That's good. So that's a good solution awareness question management. Let's say I'm just going to throw out a different random industry. Let's say if you sold solar, be a little bit different, right? You're not talking about ROI. You're talking about saving money on their utility bill, right? And after 25 years, they don't have a utility bill, so they get to keep that money. So a different solution awareness question for that industry, because there's multiple different ones we'd use depending on the industry, would be, okay, so besides you saving money on your bill, because I mean, realistically, you're only going to save $80, $90 a month. I mean, that's only like $1,000, $1,200 a month. Besides saving just that money, how do you see solar benefiting you the most, though? Well, I see it benefiting us because blah, 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 blah. And they start telling themselves and you how they see it benefiting them besides just saving money, which is the main reason why they want to look at Go Solar. See what we just did there?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think this is a good place to stop because I know you have other meetings.
I've got another. Yeah.
But where can they find more information like this? Where should you go if you found benefit in this?
So if you're listening to the podcast or watching us right now, you want more hors d'oeuvres like this, the best place to go, we'll give you more little nibbles, little more hors d'oeuvres. Go to one of our free Facebook groups, go to salesrevolution.pro. So salesrevolution.pro. We'll have a link on here. Right when you join, check your Facebook Messenger. Somebody on our team will message you over a free training called the NEPQ 101 mini course. It's Matt breaking down the NEPQ process more detailed than what we did, with some different sample questions you can use that will probably help you sell more than what you're doing now. And we go live in the group 3 or 4 times a week, different Q&As, different trainings. And that's going to give you some nibbles when you want more advanced training like our clients are in, where they're making 3, 4, 5 times what you are in your industry. Or be sarcastic. Then you can reach out to us in the Facebook group and we can give you different training options. Matt, thank you, sir. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks
guys. Have a good day. Bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.